The Tufts Landscape feels like home to many current and former members of the Tufts community. But who else considered it home throughout history, and how does that change our perception of Tufts today?
Let's start with the history lesson. There once was a British explorer named John Winthrop, who traveled to the virgin land of New England for a new life.
The colonists created a community there with Winthrop as their governor, and that's where the history of Massachusetts begins.
Well, that's what most history books prefer you to think.
There once was a Native American sachem, or leader, who was married to Nonapashment, the sachem of the Powhatan Confederation of Tribes until his death in 1619.
She owned a large portion of the land that encompassed parts of Arlington, Charlestown, Malden, Winchester, and Medford.
John Winthrop and his men signed a deed to buy the land from her.
Which basically means,
I get all of her land in exchange for some coats and some corn.
Unfortunately, settlers writing deeds in complex English was a common way they acquired land from natives who thought that they were sharing the land rather than giving it away. Throughout history, the hill Tufts sits on was referred to as Walnut Hill.
Historians have discovered a link between the locations of Algonquin tribes and the locations of black walnut trees. Basically, landscapes where many Algonquin tribes would return habitually, black walnut trees would be present.
But back to John.
John Winthrop becomes the governor of Massachusetts. Many Native Americans were eventually forced out, while Winthrop writes they were
swept away by the smallpox, so as God hath thereby cleared our title to this
that,
place.
or maybe your foreign diseases killed them.
Anyway!
John Winthrop discovers rolling hills and spanning meadows, claimed and transformed today by the busy cities of Somerville, Medford, and Charlestown.
He called this place Ten Hills Farm. Ten Hills Farm was home to many owners throughout history, eventually leading to Charles Tufts. Mr. Tufts has deep roots in Medford. His ancestor Peter Tufts was an English businessman who came to Medford in 1638. These are taxes sent to Seth Reed,
one of the owners of the farm on the sachem's land,
from tax collector Peter Tufts Jr. in 1761. The Tufts family had strong ties to this land. Ten Hills Farm and the area surrounding it was very rural and agricultural. The wood fences are also signs of pastoral land. Later in life, Charles decided to donate 20 acres of his land to build an educational institution. He wanted it to be a light on a hill for people to become enlightened and educated. This is the only topographical map of the campus,
made by Tufts engineering students in 1876. It shows that buildings were planned at the highest points to emphasize the idea of a light upon a hill.
Stone walls are also a Native American tradition and can be signs of their influence on the landscape. And wait, isn't that a pond where DeWitt is supposed to be? The pond must have been filled in to make space for the university. This means the campus is still vulnerable to flooding. There was also a reservoir that was sold by Medford to the university and filled to make what is known as the Res Quad. Through time, the Tufts University campus has been shaped by different people and practices, all leading up to the land Tufts students call home. It is important to recognize the history of the landscape in order to gain a deeper understanding and respect for the lands and for those who came before us.